Hey everyone, what's going on? I'm Dev Ear, one of the developers for ZSGO, and I decided I'm gonna make a little POI Spawn Manager video so to help out people who don't feel like reading through that fandom, because I wouldn't want to either. Um, but yeah, if you do rather read the fandom and get any updates, this video might be a little out of date once you get around to watching it, but any updates would be in that fandom. We'd be adding it to there as it comes, and there is a few updates already that I'm going to show you here in a second. But yeah, to get right into it, this I'll just give a little overview. Pretty much what the POI Spawn Manager is it gives players the ability to go into their file and manually change pretty much every component involved with the zombie spawning or AI spawning in general. Yeah, so as we see right in front of me, these three, here, let me make this big. These zones are kind of what are used to trigger zombie spawning. So no longer is there zombies just spawning up around the area of your player. Now these zones are going to be used. And if you enter the first zone, it starts checking and it knows you're there, and it realizes, oh, we better keep checking all these other zones inside of it now, and it'll see as you iterate all the way to one of these guys, a spawn point. As you can see, that's the area of the spawn point. So once you enter this, a calculation will be made. Flip of a coin. It doesn't have to be 50-50. I'll show you that you could adjust all those percentages and even what spawns on the spawn point particularly. But yeah, RNG calculation will happen, and it will decide if it wants to spawn a zombie on this point. So, knowing that, let's find the file. To find the file, that pretty much the main place you need to be to do everything I'm about to show you is you just right-click Zombie Survival Game Online and Properties, and go to Browse, ZSGO, Content, Game Settings, Spawner Settings, and right here. These are the two important ones to keep in mind. So I opened those already, but yeah, POI Manager Settings. This is a more general JSON file that controls the whole map as a whole, like everything as a whole in terms of AI spawning. So you'll come here to adjust cleanup values and max zombies allowed on the server and values like that. And then this POI Spawn Settings for main level is going to be more targeted on what I was showing you, like one of these spheres, and you could adjust the settings within one of these big map chunks. Here, this is the map chunk. This biggest one is the map chunk, so you could adjust everything within a map chunk. So yeah, manager for the whole map in general, spawn settings for what's inside of chunks, certain chunks around the map. And I'll go over here because I already have it open. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, so this is the Spawn Manager, the general one. So I'll just go through each of these and explain to you exactly what's going on. We got the global POI spawner. If it's active, it's true, which is just, if you set this to false, no zombies are going to spawn, nothing's going to happen, none of your settings in the future are going to take place. The debug UI, I have this set to true, as you can see in game. I have that POI spawner debugger in the top left of my screen. So yeah, because I have this set to true. So you set that to false if you want to take that off. But it's really good if you're in here messing around with settings and you want to see the stats around your changes and make sure everything's working properly. Then you have the low FPS spawn limit. This is actually a new type of test phase for this. We don't know if this is going to be set in stone, but I'll go ahead and explain it anyway because it's looking good. If you set this to true and then set this frame rate, then the zombies will be capped whenever you hit that frame rate. So if you normally run the game at 100 FPS, you could set this to true and 60, and then once there's so many zombies spawned that your game now is running at 59 frames per second, it'll cut off the spawning because you've passed this barrier of 60 that you set in here. And yeah, so there's like an FPS, because zombies take up a lot of FPS. They just chug FPS. The more you put on screen, the more processing power required. So you could set a limit so you don't have to worry about it. And then, yeah, this is the JSON file that's going to be read for a certain level. And in our case, we're playing on main level. So, of course, it's set to POI Spawn Settings main level. And then we got the check iteration time. And this is when I'll reference this. This is the fandom. So, POI check iteration time right here is set to 4, which is how quickly we iterate through the points checking valid distances. So that's how many seconds it waits in between each check of this spawn chunk that I was showing you, and how long it's just checking if a player is within it. That's really all it's doing. So how fast do you want that to be firing off and checking? Next is the spawner class iteration time. So to explain the debugger a little along with this, that is how often it's checking to actually spawn the zombie. So when you enter a point, the check iteration time will fire off and notify that you're in a zone, right? So now you're in a zone, and it decides, oh, we're going to put a bunch of things in this list of, because these are all the points that you're in range of. And now we're going to iterate through those and do the roll of the die or calculation to see if we're going to spawn something on that point. So this is how many seconds in between each one that it's going to check. So start with the first that popped up, 1, 2 seconds, next, 1, 2 seconds, next, 1, 2 seconds. If it fires off and it has a successful spawn, it will send it over to this currently spawned AI section over here. So you could change how fast you want zombies to spawn by lowering this number. The cleanup iteration time has to do with cleaning up the zombies. So once this list has been iterated through and you have some zombies appearing here, and you set this to, let's say, 3 seconds, that's how long it's going to iterate between each of those spawned AI and check if there's still a player around. And then if there isn't, it cleans it up. So it takes it out of the game until someone else enters that spawn point, and then the roll of the die calculation will happen again. Then we got the max spawns per players. At the time of this video, this is actually not fully functioning yet. But this should most likely be functioning, so you could use this for now to control for max AI spawns. But yeah, this is just exactly how it sounds. How many zombies can spawn around a player. Then we got the max global spawn count, which is how many zombies can be spawned on the entire map. And then that is it for the main level manager settings. We'll move on to the spawn settings. Here's the map chunk, which is this big one, this big sphere, how big the radius of it is and where it's located at on the map. And then this is the next sphere inside of that, the next sphere inside of that, and then the spawn point itself is right here. So the spawn point, you can see it has a name. This has a name also. So this is, if you wanted to custom set certain cities to have crazier spawns, you could just Control F, and we could go to the mall. So yeah, it takes us right to the map chunk name, Mall and Woods. And then you could scroll down, reading this line right here on the spawn chunk. You see that's Woods by the mall. That's the Northeast Woods by the mall. That's the Northwest Woods by the mall. And boom, that's the mall and the parking lot in the mall. Usually if it says default spawn point, that just means that this is really close to, well, if it says default spawn point, that's just because it's a spawn point. But if it says default spawn data right here. That probably just means because it's right next to the spawn chunk. So there's no specific name needed because it's just right next to the one above it. But yeah, you go to the individual spawn point. You could see that it's spawning a random zombie. And then you could see that there's a spawn chance of 50 to 60 on both of these. Now what's happening here is you could have multiple types within one. This spawn chance 50 to 60, that means it's rolling the dice. If it hits 50 to 60% of the time, it is gonna hit 50 to 60% of the time. And when it does, it'll decide, okay, now we'll go down here. It'll pick one of these, just one of them, because right here the number of spawn attempts is 1. So if this is successful, it'll pick one down here. So let's say there's a random Z, an armor Z, and a rad Z, and it picks the random Z randomly, and then it'll roll again 50 to 60% of the time it hits, and it spawns that random Z. So as you can tell, you could add multiple spawns within here, increase these percentages in certain POIs. So if you want the mall parking lot to have a bunch of rad Zs because there's something special there, and you're the owner of your server, and you want there to be a bunch of zombies there for some reason, then you could set a high chance to spawn a bunch of rad Zs. So yeah, that is pretty much everything for this. However, I can show you down here in the fandom, we have the different types that you could spawn. So this random zombie, armored zombie, rad zombie, bear, wolf, deer, scav soldier, and scav sniper. And you could just copy this whole line with the quotes and put it just here with the quotes, just like the other one is, and switch out what you're spawning there. And yeah, we could see it in action. So something is going on right now where it didn't show me the current chunk index, that orange number in the top left, but we'll see if that works this time. If not, it will be working for you probably when you see this. I don't know why it would be bugging out right now, but yeah, right now it should show that I'm in a chunk because I'm in a massive, here, let me fly over. This is the city I'm entering. And this is the map chunk right here that I can't select. There we go. It's the map chunk. I'm probably standing around right here right now. So you see I'm in the chunk, but for some reason it's not reading it right now. But yeah, it'll usually show the chunk. And then now I'm about to enter a spawn point. Boom. And you see that initial spawn point check. So if I zoom in here, that means I'm within this spawn point circle. Oh wait. This spawn point circle, let me activate that radius. Yep. So this spawn point circle is actually bigger than the chunk, the spawn location. So it's actually when I'm entering the spawn location, it's firing off this check to see how many to spawn. So you see locations to check spawn. Boom, rolls the dice. Boom, rolls the dice. 0. If both dice rolls failed, I'll enter the city now. Even harder, and you'll see on the next iteration, it's gonna click. Boom. Now I'm in way more spawn points. So all of these are added, and they start getting iterated through. And you can see that pink number going down every like 2 seconds, and that's because my spawn iteration time is set to 2 seconds. And yeah, we have 30 zombies in queue now. So as I run in, you'll see all these new, this is the most dense city for spawn points, so this is the most you'll see anywhere on the map. But yeah, it's doing those rolls, it's spawning zombies. It's not set too high right now, so you've only seen like 5 zombies spawn in so far, 6. And yeah, once you leave the area, they'll start cleaning up, and you move to your next area, and then they'll be spawning back. So that's pretty much everything. Yeah, so that's everything, guys. If you have any questions, we're super active on Discord. Hop in there and ask. I mean, you can even leave a comment on this video. We'll probably won't be too quick on it, but we'll get around to it at some point. Definitely the fastest way to go is joining the Discord. I'll put it in the description, and just opening up a ticket and asking. It should get to you within the hour, usually within 10 minutes, especially if you ask a question like this. We're excited to see people messing around with this and doing stuff in it. So yeah, get in there and let us know how it goes. If you get a cool setup, also a cool spawn setup that you really like, be sure you could share us the JSON, and we would love to check it out. This is a pretty extensive system, so even we're trying to still tweak values. So if you have like a airfield that you really like, you could send us your JSON, and we could take your airfield and maybe even use it if we really like it too, because it'll just save us time. It takes a long time going through all these data sets. But yeah, that should be it, y'all. Thank you so much. I'll see you out there in 0.4.8, releasing Thursday, March 14th. Yeah, see you then.